Good morning. I'm here to talk about the power of organizing and why we need to leverage that power in this moment. Let's start with an example of when organizing helped women claim power. 30 years ago, tens of thousands of leaders gathered in Beijing at the UN Fourth World Conference on Women, which was the culmination of years of organizing on behalf of women's rights. This resulted, as you all know, in the adoption of the Beijing Platform for Action, which called for the full and equal participation of women and girls across public and private life, creating a blueprint for progress around the world. The result of this organizing was power, and the changes won were significant. In legal reform, where women organized to improve women's legal rights in over 100 nations. In education, where the gap in primary schooling virtually closed on a global level, providing a generation of girls opportunity that their mothers and grandmothers didn't have. And in health, where the maternal mortality rate was cut in half, showing that progress is possible. The agenda outlined in Beijing remains unfinished, however, as we've talked about today, and in other areas, progress has been far too slow. The gap between men's and women's labor force participation over the past 3 decades remains virtually unchanged. Women remain dramatically outnumbered in positions of power and leadership. And violence against women is an epidemic that persists in every region of the world. In addition to these gaps, in the 21st century, women and girls face new and emerging challenges that demand that we once again organize to reverse the systemic rollback of women's rights we're seeing around the world. This past September, the Women's Initiative at Columbia University's Institute of Global Politics, together with GWL Voices, released a new roadmap to address 4 barriers to women's full and equal participation in our modern era and to offer a blueprint for action. First, we need to advance democracy and human rights. Autocracies currently outnumber democracies for the first time in 20 years, with nearly 3/4 of the world's population now living under autocratic regimes, the highest number since 1978, and this rising authoritarianism has resulted in a systemic rollback of women's rights. In 2024, nearly 1/4 of countries reported a backlash on women's rights and gender equality, from policies in Russia and Hungary that incentivize women to leave the workforce to assume unpaid caretaking roles, to the withdrawal from agreements on violence against women in Turkey, to the purge of women's rights programs in the United States under the guise of attacking so-called gender ideology. To advance gender equality in 2025, we need to address backsliding in democracy and human rights. Second, technology. The rise of tech has generated new opportunity, expanding education and economic participation, but has also fueled new forms of inequality. The digital gender divide is stark, and women are dramatically underrepresented in STEM fields globally. Furthermore, women disproportionately face gender bias in AI and technology-facilitated gender-based violence, undermining their safety and participation in public life. To promote women's rights in the 21st century, we need to secure gender equality both on and offline. Third, we need to close gaps in women's economic security, including the disproportionate burden of household and unpaid care work that women shoulder, which undermines their labor force participation. And we need to level the playing field for women in the economy, eliminating remaining laws that restrict women's access to employment, property ownership, and credit, thereby undermining growth for entire economies. Fourth, we need to address gender gaps in conflict and climate response, which are rising in the modern era. Today, we have the highest number of conflicts on record since 1946, and the climate crisis is growing, with women and girls facing disproportionate risks. Notwithstanding these threats, women remain underrepresented in crisis and conflict resolution processes and at climate finance decision-making tables, where resources are still more likely to go to men. Making progress at this time of regression will require us to work in new and different ways. In our report, we've identified 4 levers to help meet this moment. Number 1, resources. Investment in gender equality, which was already severely constrained, is being cut worldwide. To accelerate the pace of change, we need to pursue innovative financing mechanisms to help close funding gaps. Number 2, reform. To close gender gaps in leadership, we need institutional reform in governments and multilateral organizations, philanthropy and civic organizations, and the private sector. Number 3, coalitions. To win the battles ahead, we need to expand coalitions in support of women's rights across like-minded governments and also across sectors. And number 4, data. We need to strengthen statistical systems and analysis to ensure our policy choices are effective and to measure ongoing gaps as well as progress. In Beijing in 1995, we witnessed the power of women organizing. In Reykjavik in 2025, we need to wield that power again to meet the pressing challenges of this moment. On behalf of Columbia University's Institute of Global Politics, we look forward to working with all of you on this important task. Thank you very much.